Okay. Morning, everybody. Afternoon, evening, wherever you are, whatever time it is. So, I'm on here because I really, really struggle with lies. I really hate them. Now, I want to clarify something. I don't believe that it's a lie when we say something that we actually honestly believe. We just don't know better. Sometimes, until we start a healing journey or a spiritual journey or a mindfulness journey, we don't have the cognitive ability to be self-aware enough to know when we're even lying to ourselves. That can happen. So keep that in mind. A lie is something that is done intentionally to misguide, mislead, right? Or to tell a story that isn't real. We do it to ourselves all the time, I think, to a certain degree. It's not necessarily a bad thing, especially if you're changing beliefs that don't serve you to ones that do serve you. It might feel like a lie at first, that imposter syndrome, but once you start embodying the energy for the story that you're telling, it becomes your reality. So there is, it's not just so black and white that you're a liar or you're not. So for me, it's something done with intention that is a lie. And I find lately when I'm online and I'm scrolling through different posts and feeds, there's so much inauthentic content, cookie cutter copycats of each other. I mean, don't get me wrong, I get it, it's fun. Sometimes, people take the sounds off of somebody else's post and they want to copy that post because it really, moved them, or it was epic, or they found it cool. But it's not original to you, it's somebody else's voice or somebody else's words. And you're borrowing it, which is fine. It's good to share the message, especially if it's a good message. But sometimes, don't you wish that you kind of had your own message to share? I mean, why not? It's really hard in this world to be authentic, or just to be yourself, when so many people are afraid. Yet you watch these people who do, steal the sound or the audio from other clips that they really admire. Those are original audios every time. They're somebody's original ideas, original thoughts. So if people want that, and if they're attracted to it to the point where they want to copy it, borrow it, steal it, don't you think the world needs more of that? I mean, seriously, right? So in the name of being authentic, there's a couple things I want to touch on today. One is also, the other thing along with this inauthenticity is a lot of the trauma responses that I'm seeing that coexist, right? They're almost like comorbid conditions. Like if you look at, and I'll put an image in here so you guys can see it. If you look at the differences between borderline personality disorder, CPTSD, right? Complex trauma, autism, ADHD. I mean, and you could even Google things like bipolar. Look up all these different neurodivergent disorders, and I want you to look at how much of their symptoms overlap, okay? Because yes, there's some variations or some differences, but there's a huge core amount of overlap of symptoms in these conditions. And I'd have to go and do a whole paper on this and do a lot of research and metadata analysis and all that, but I'm almost willing to bet you dollars to donuts. I love that saying, even though it's no longer just $1 for a donut. But anyways, I'm willing to bet you dollars to donuts that the majority of these overlapping symptoms are based on trauma, long, repeated trauma over a period of time, whether it was from adolescence or childhood, or it doesn't matter. Anything that's a long period of time, repeated trauma of the same kind. And the reason possibly that, these different variations and the display is due to the neurological differences in someone's brain. It could be environmental, it could be genetic, it could be a combination of environment, triggering different genes being activated, etc. Like, there's so much for the etiology of these things that it could it would need a lot of research. Good news is, though, much like everything in this world, science is right until it's not, which means that it's always growing, it's always learning, it's always changing. You know, the math books that, or the physics books that are in universities now, I almost guarantee you still have some outdated information that need updated, because physics is constantly finding new stuff, just like neuroscience and all, right? Science is always growing. So, thus, it's hard to ever say a definitive factor that it's just this or just that. And it's the same thing with psychology. But I do have to say, the more I study what they call abnormal behavior in psychology, anywhere from pedophilia to people with necromancy and other weird fetishes. My daughter was Googling one. Apparently there's a thing where people actually are addicted to drinking their own urine. Yeah. So there's a lot of weird abnormal behavior out there. Not sure if I get the last one, but you know, each to their own. So I want you guys to keep in mind that it's a possibility of, with these neurodivergent disorders, that, you know, depending on your chemistry, your brain makeup, your environment, everything, you're expressing trauma-based responses differently, but almost, you know, in a similar fashion to other neurodivergent disorders, because we're all not that different. Our experiences are different. How we handle things are different. How we cope is different. Our maladaptive coping mechanisms can be different. But it doesn't mean that we're actually that different from each other. And an interesting fact, too, that I've been learning after doing some research is that a lot of these traumas that happen due to, you know, personal relationships, whether it be romantic or familial, a lot of them can't heal until we find ourselves in a relationship that literally provides us the opposite of what we experienced the entirety of our life, maybe up till now. So finding somebody who is willing to educate themselves and be aware of how trauma affects our brains and how it can be correlated with neurodivergent disorders, how it can present itself in neurodivergent disorders, and how much they can overlap, meaning like, yeah, maybe you have borderline personality disorder, but maybe you're also autistic, maybe you're also ADHD. I mean, you could have called me, honestly, I have symptoms for OCD. When I went back to my doctor 2.5 years ago, I gotta look at the dates, I'm horrible at time. Anyways, we'll just say it was 2.5 years ago. It was in 2022? Or was it 2023? I don't know. I really don't remember. I'll have to go back and look. But anyways, yeah, it was 2022, because end of 2022 that I went. Yeah, because it was 2020. Anyways, yes. So, when you go back, I go back and look, I had symptoms of OCD. I had symptoms of ADHD. I had symptoms of autism. You know, my masking, my RAD score, I look at what RADS is. It was insane. I mean, I almost maxed it out. And then, you know, now I'm looking at different other things like, you know, bipolar and borderline personality disorder. And I present in so many categories, it's astronomical. Again, though, I think a lot of it is trauma related, because the more I heal and the more self-aware I become, the easier it is for me to recognize my triggers, my behavior patterns, you know, and things that need to be healed. And why it's so important that I don't just pick just anyone to be a friend with, or definitely not a romantic partner with, because if they're not prepared for some of the crazy that is me, yeah, it would end badly. I'm definitely gonna be a handful for whoever I end up hanging out with, friend or not. Love me or don't. So keep that in mind, that, you know, being authentic might not always be comfortable, because we do, all of us to a degree, have trauma to heal. We all to a degree are trying to figure out who and what we are, which is always evolving and always changing. So, you know, it's more of finding our core, finding who we are at the core. The rest is going to keep growing. And just know that you're not abnormal. What they call abnormal psychology, I'm starting to believe, is the normal. I mean, there's more of us in the neurodivergent community and mental disorders from trauma than almost any other community out there. So you're not alone, and it's okay to be different, and it's okay to be authentic, and we really need more originals so that we can stop just being cookie cutter copycats. So please help me be unique. You be unique and I'll be unique.